Sharks, we had Nicho on the show on Sunday night, talking before, and so you can just see with the Sharks that they've had a very thoughtful pre-season. They've sat back and said, right, what are the things that have let us down in the big games? And this year they're playing so much more physical. We showed it on Sunday night, a set I think probably typifies what they did. Early in the game, McGuinness drives forward, then Nicho takes the next ball, hits Teague Wilton short, doubles around the same way, hits Talakai short, and then a tackle or two later, Trindle does the same thing and Wilton hits another hole. Wilton went through, I think just before half-time, a ball off Nicho. Wilton is playing. Wilton and Nakora are beautiful hole runners, but just the Sharks, they're playing very physical.
Yeah, I think the thing that I've noticed about the Sharks, they're defending better for longer periods.
Yep.
I think the coach's personality is starting to come through their DNA the way they play, because in round one, I think against the Warriors got out to 12-0 after 15 minutes, right? So that means for like more than a game and a half, they've only conceded one try.
Yeah.
So you can talk about Nicho, you can talk about Wilton, Nakora, but for me, I think they're defending like a championship team.
Yes.
They're doing like the tough stuff for longer periods, and that is Craig Fitzgibbon 101. So it's interesting. Like, I loved what the Sharks did, like with no Nicho Hynes. Like the way that Craig Fitzgibbon orchestrated that performance around, okay, Brayley's my main man. He's creative out of dummy half. I don't want to lose that. But yet, with the speed of Munster and far longer, I need some movement at 3 in defensively. So Brayley attacks in the middle, defends at 3 in, and then you give basically the whole team to Daniel Atkinson, who's playing his 6th game.
Yeah.
It's a pretty impressive performance. We spoke about performances of the year last week. That is number one by far for me, what the Sharks did on the weekend.
Player of the round, Coop?
Nicho Hynes for me.
Awesome.
They beat Melbourne last week, had Roosters on the weekend, and there was talk around, is he in the Origin team, is he not? And he absolutely delivered a masterclass performance. If anyone had some reservations whether he's in the Origin team or not after that.
He's in. He's got the jersey.
And I think the one thing that lit it up for me is if you go to Magic Round, you're playing the Roosters and you're under a little bit of pressure as a halfback, you're probably going to be conservative to get into the game. His first touch, ran it on the 5th play, got the ball back inside and they scored in the first
I like what
minute.
the Sharks are doing. Sharks prove they're a serious contender. It said before, they've rejigged aspects of their attack, Fitzy, so they can the better chance of winning big games at the back end of the season. I thought they were terrific. It's interesting. Going forward now, Coops, I think that they've got some big games the next few weeks. It's going to be a really big test. Now, I'll tell you why. Is they've had a lot of criticism of late. People said they've had a soft draw. Right? And sides lift with criticism, right? And apparently they spoke about that within the inner circle, in the dressing room, right? No one's given us a chance. Everyone, we're winning games, but they're saying we're still not playing a right style of football. That criticism sharpens the sword, and that's very much, you see that in the last few performances. But now we've got to see how they handle the praise. And very often, Coop, praise weakens resolve.
And players should get a huge rep for what they're doing, but I think Fitzgibbon is obviously doing a tremendous job too, because a couple of weeks back, I said something about the soft draw, and he actually came out and said, look, we are not Penrith, Melbourne or the Roosters. We haven't done this over a long period of time, but we're striving to get there. And he's got that criticism for the players that is bubbling along that's inspiring, but he's also put a reality check to say, hey, listen, if we want to win this trophy, we're going to have to keep doing this against the good teams. It's easy to do against the teams below us because that's what we have to do. But this is the way this is the style of play that we play, and it holds up in big games. So every win or every good performance against those big teams just adds another layer of confidence, another layer of belief, and they are doing everything they have to.
And Coops, it's a really well-balanced side, given the fact that a nice big pack of forwards that are playing a really good power game. But, mate, the back five. The yardage game, through their backs. Mulatalo.
Jesse Raymond's footwork for that try that he set up was brilliant. I really like that Talakai is the beast off the bench as well. Like he's
got back to his best.
He's skittling defenders and creating quick play the balls. So they're
that's a big win. I mean, the Roosters had been playing,
and they weren't bad. The Roosters weren't poor in their performance, they were up for it too.
Yeah.
They fought back after the poor start in both starts to the halves, and it was a good game of footy. Terrific.
From mine, it's Cronulla and Coops. It come off the week of praise.
Yeah, it did. We spoke about it here, didn't we?
It's Coops. It's a challenge. People go, oh well, that's it's absurd. People encourage it. People say good. It should be buoyed and give you confidence. But in a sport like rugby league, you only need to be off that much, and just that praise, and more praise, just can weaken your resolve so easily. Cooper, right, week 1 of the finals, mate. What we're going to talk about first, which game?
Yeah, we're going to do Storm and the Sharks. So we just thought about, what are the strengths and weaknesses? What has to happen in these games to get the opposition on top? I think for the Storm to win, I think they need to put Nicho Hynes in a phone box. He needs to feel like he's playing a game of football in a confined space. There's already question marks whether they can deliver in a big game. The Sharks were ultra impressive on the weekend.
Yep.
They haven't won under Fitzgibbon. They're going down to Amy Park, where they won earlier in the year, but I feel like a halfback has the presence and the spirit of their team in the finals.
Yep.
And if he walks in like he owns the joint at Amy Park, the Sharks could do something. But if he balks and the Melbourne Storm restrict him, I think that goes a long way to Melbourne dominating that game.
We said a few times about Nicho. I think in this game for the Sharks, it's do less. Now, what we saw early in the year when they beat Melbourne, in Melbourne, where this game going to be, is the fact that there was Blake Brayley and young Atkinson in the halves.
Yep.
Before that game, you're looking to say Brayley playing a halfback, they're playing the Melbourne Storm, there's no chance. But they were forced to do less. They were forced to simplify. Their power game took over. They looked a far better football side. When they've got into the finals before, they've played too sideways, they've played too flowery, they've skimmed across the defence. I would almost, with Nicho, if I'm coaching Nicho, I almost go to him and say, in the lead up to the game, say, Nicho, I want you to go into this game almost with a fullback's mentality.
Yeah.
And I think, because once he gets into the battle, he'll fall into that same role. But leading up to the game, it'll stimulate his running and probably just alleviate a bit of pressure going in. And
that's the example, because on the other side of the field for the Storm, I think if the Sharks are to win down at Amy Park, they need to stop their spine from running the football. If you think about a play the ball anywhere on the field, you've got Pappenhausen, Grant near the ruck, you've got Hughes and Munster. At any stage, every play the ball, these 4 guys could run the football. So if the Sharks are to win, Nicho has to be confident, but there you have to defend for every play the ball for the whole entire 80 minutes and come up with a great defensive performance, because Melbourne Storm, when their halves click and run the ball, you saw what they did against Penrith, they get confidence from that. So I think if the Sharks to win, they've got to shut down their spine running the ball.
Sharks, boy, they're disappointing.
Yeah.
There was the kick-off, but at the end of the day, those things can happen. You've got to be able to, number one, defend that error, and number two, forget about it and get on with the game.
It pops the balloon, a first thing like that, but I thought they did well to get back in, and that try just before half-time.
Melbourne's dominance in the first half, it was hard to believe it was 14-10.
Yeah.
But
what do you make of their footy?
No, I thought it was poor. Yeah. I thought their football, it lacked decisiveness. And Coops, we said about this a lot about the Sharks. Sharks play their best football when they play direct, nice and north-south, power-based aggression. And you said before about Munster, about if you want to play a certain way, you've got to start. You've got to set your compass right. Munster, he's a runner of the football. He wants to play that way. First touches, he runs. So let's talk about the Sharks. Yeah, they've got to play north-south. I want you to have a look at this set. This is one of the first sets they have. So you get a tap, Talakai, nice and straight.
It's pretty north-south.
That's very north-south. But this, and you're starting to go sideways. So next play, again, first receiver plays across. Then they come back into the middle with Nicho, another first receiver play. And they end up this next play, they go again, they have another play, and they make some meterage. But my problem is, Coops, is that, for me, it just set their compass wrong.
Yeah. What do you make of Nicho?
You can see he's down in confidence. Yeah. Well, look, I'll say this. is you could have put Nathan Cleary in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much impact Nathan would have had given the fact that they were just smashed in the yardage battle.
Yeah, he set up that nice direct play for the first try. He hit a ball on Talakai. I think his mindset was right there.
Yeah.
But this is the toughest competition in the world. Nothing's ever going to give to you. So my advice is to Nicho is keep going.
Yeah.
Like, mate, don't balk now. This is a huge contest. A little bit, you know what? Nicho, go watch some Munster clips.
Yeah.
Go watch him north-south early in the game. Nicho, go to dummy half and run the football in the second set of 6 or something. Just go to the contest, be physical, and that should straighten him up and go to the contest. He just needs to be more aggressive.
I'd sit him
double down on aggression and keep going.
So true. I'd sit him and Trindle down and say, Tricky, I want you to run the show. I want you to be the chief shot caller. Nicho, I want you to play in the halves like a fullback. That's what I want you to do. I want you to play your fullback game and just run the football. I want you to relax, float around the field. And I think that would alleviate a lot of pressure in the build-up to the game in his own mind. I don't have much of a life, Cooper, so hence the reason why I go back and watch old games. But I saw some of your games in your first final series, went back, had a look. And you've always got to have a certain, I think, focus when you're going in those first games. And what struck me about you, Cooper, when you played that first final series, you didn't try to do too much. There wasn't a lot of width to your game. It was all mainly 1 metre passes.
Yeah, I played my strengths. I was tenacious in the way they ran the football. And then when I started running the football, I had a short pass. And then my pass out the side of that was basically to Inglis or Slater. So I never went fishing for the long pass. If it was game plan that there was a kick on, that I'd do that. But I think at this time of year, I think the simpler things are better.
Yeah.
And whatever you are as a player, whether you're a front row, fullback or a half, bring your strengths to that simple game. Don't all of a sudden start looking to throw long passes if you don't do them all year long. Yeah. Don't do anything different. Just be aggressive. And I think the teams that lost on the weekend, in terms of the Cowboys and Manly, just didn't have that intent. They didn't. Like, I really loved the mindset of what the Roosters and the Sharks particularly brought to their game. Like, it was direct, it was intent, and things like one of the best things you can find on intent is, I know there was some carnage in the Roosters-Manly game, but like kick chase, like that is one area that you can define your intent on. And what the Sharks did to the Cowboys, particularly Trindle kicking game and the outside backs chase, I thought was very good.
It's funny, isn't it, like Coops? It takes a lot of hard work to do things simple. Now, what I mean, I think as far as preparation and mental attitude, we can sit here and go, look, you retain the ball you got. You attack simple. You get forward, you play the ball quick. You kick well. You defend with energy. You do those things really well, you're going to win the football game. And you sit there and go, well, that's really easy. Yeah. Well, it is in theory, but to get out there and get yourself up for the occasion all the time, it's hard. Could not have been more different than the week before. Yeah. It must have been a great week of self-reflection for the Sharkies. And we've said their best football comes from simplicity, hit the line hard, play the ball quick, create space for your playmakers, kick well, defend your ass off.
Yeah, I thought, like if you go watch the Melbourne game where they lost, they dropped the kick-off, but they got it back towards half-time. And some of their football to get that score back was actually quite direct. I didn't mind some of it. There was some really poor stuff that cost them, but there was glimpses that they were almost there. But I'll tell you what I loved out of the Sharks game was Braden Trindle's kicking game and the outside backs chase game.
Oh, wow.
They scored 2 or 3 tries from kicks purely because of Trindle's placement and the effort and the desire for their outside backs to chase it. If Mulatalo, Katoa doesn't chase those balls and get contact to them, that's not a try. And sometimes finals is all about just one effort more than the opposition, and it will come down with the footy. I thought it was a very good performance.
Well, Coop, we spoke before about it being one of Tedesco's greatest performances. Mulatalo hasn't had as long a career as Teddy's. I thought it was one of his greatest. He led those outside backs in every area. Mate, the outside backs, the back five, had over 100 runs, Coops.
Yep.
And that is so crucial to take. When you're going to play the very best teams who are going to drill your middle and really go at you, you've got to help your forwards out. The forwards have got to retain some petrol and the tech for defence, and the Sharks do that probably better than anyone when they're firing.
Yeah, because they're energetic in the backfield and they're hell of finishers near the try line too. So I think they fight fire with fire, Penrith, this week. Like they're back 5 versus Penrith's back 5. Hell of a contest. And, you know, let's give Hynes a tip of the cap, right? We talk about how, you know, let's use the Melbourne Storm spine as when Harry Grant's on, Munster and Hughes step back.
Well,
right?
look at Jerome last week.
Yep.
Munster's on.
Yep.
Harry's drilling through.
Yep.
I'm going to take a step back here.
And with all the pressure, he became a role player for Trindle. Like Trindle dominated the kicking.
Yep.
He had the hot hand. He was doing it all. And Hynes, to his credit, went, you know what? There's a team first mentality here. Brady, keep doing what you're doing, and I'll do a couple of pieces here and there.
I want to talk about Nicho. I was going to talk about Braden first, but let's talk about Nicho. And I agree with you. One of the worst things about professional sport, Cooper, and I understand it's professional sport and it's a tough school, right? But what begins so often as measured criticism or critiquing suddenly accelerates out of control and becomes this massive pile and takes on a life of its own. And that's been the case a little bit with Nicho. Nicho is not immune to criticism. And Nicho's confidence has been down and he's been playing within himself. But sometimes, and I've said this a number of times, Coops, sometimes it's what you don't do. Trindle went out there the other night and the ball was hitting his hands perfect. You have nights like that. And Nicho's down in confidence. He could have done what he could have done, one of two things. Slip back and deputise and compliment what he does, or go out there, try to prove everyone wrong, demand the football, force yourself into the game, and I reckon they don't win.
Yep, 100% agree with that. Look, you can't have one without the other. Like this game is loved by a lot and people will critique it. I think Nicho Hynes needs to put it in its own box. Like it is what it is. Feedback from those who see the game through a different lens, it's not your coach, not your playing group, not your mentors, is irrelevant, to be fair. And I think it's fair that Nicho Hynes stands up and plays the way he plays because that's what will tell the criticism to go away. At the end of the day, performance is king, winning is even better. And I've had stages through my career where you've been under pressure, but that's just there. It doesn't force you to do anything greater, worse, or you can't feel like you're a victim. Just improve on the skills, go out and perform. And this might be really strange, but I think they've got a chance this week.
I do too.
I feel like if they can put the perfect game together, they match up nicely. I love the power of their back rowers, and maybe they can get it done.
Coops, the last thing I just want to say on Nicho, and I think it applies to a lot of young players, is that it's never been tougher to be a professional sportsman. The wall of noise that comes at you all the time from social media, there's so many outlets, we're part of it. We sit here, we talk about it. We try to be measured, but there's times that people watch this podcast.
I'm more measured than you, though.
Well, yeah, you are here. If you're in the green room, you're vicious. But I hear players sometimes say, I don't care. Well, that's wrong. It doesn't. I'm 53 years of age. Wait a sec, it's Trish. Yeah. No problem. Yep. Diane sauce, perfect. Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, I know. It wasn't Trish. Let's not say who it was. But people say, I don't care. I don't. I'll say this, 53 years of age. For me, it's taken a lot of kickings and a lot of stuff to go into my life to actually get to the point that you go, I don't care what a person thinks. Now, that is not the domain of someone in their 20s. Is that you have to go through a lot. And the day that actually you don't care is one of the best. You're moving to a really great part of your life. But in your 20s, going into your 30s, most people are thin-skinned. Yeah.
I'll put it this way. Through my career, I think I could honestly respect 4 or 5 people's opinion.
Cheers.
I mean, 1, you. 2, God, no.
It's one and the same.
That's how you put it together, right? There's a lot of people, and we do it, we'll commentate on our game.
Yep.
Find your niche, find who you believe the feedback is warranted, and trust that.
Yep.
Other than that, the rest is just noise.
What I liked about Trindle, again, very similar to Nicho, is that all that brilliant stuff stemmed off simplicity. And we said before, you know, they're better off playing north-south. We've done a lot of geography in this show.
Yeah.
They're better off playing Sydney to Mount Isa than Sydney to Perth.
Yep.
And a playmaker is in charge of that. And I reckon one of the things for playmakers to understand, I thought Trindle did it the other night, right at the moment that you would naturally call the football, sometimes say to a forward, just give me another one. Just give me another strong hit up, play the ball quick, going to give me more momentum, going to give me more time and more space. They scored some brilliant tries the other night, Sharks, but if you go back and look at it, it was just based off guys hitting the line hard, play the ball quick.
I like his temperament because that was a big game in his career and there was a lot of noise about the Sharks in general not being able to win finals. And up against a team that was probably in good form, I liked that he had the confidence and the temperament to go after it. Some other halves would be go, okay, Nicho's the origin player. I hope he goes okay today. I'm just going to sit back here and hold. But he didn't hesitate. He really dominated the kick in the early exchanges, started to find his rhythm, ran the football, set up some tries, and then he was scoring tries on the other side of the field too. That tells me that he's actually moving around and looking to be involved. So career best performance from him.
It was terrific.
Very good.
Yeah, it was really good. Next week, Coops, Friday, Storm versus Roosters in Melbourne at Amy Park. Then on Saturday, we've got the Panthers up against Cronulla at a core stadium. If I was to tell you that there is going to be an upset in one of these games, going to be a major upset, which one do you think it'll be most likely?
I give both teams a chance. This is strange because I think Storm and Penrith have been on a collision course for a long time. It's going to take both the Sharks and the Roosters their best football to do it. But sometimes in rugby league, it's not straightforward. I've played in games where you probably should win and you don't. Why? Because the other team have that pressuring mentality. They're physical, aggressive. They unsettle you a little bit. I like the Sharks, but it's going to take their best performance under Craig Fitzgibbon.
I tell you what I like about them is the fact that they've had this weight around their neck it's just got heavier and heavier when they keep losing. And another one to the Sharks. They've lost it again. They can't do pressure on everyone from coach down to rookie. But that win. That win the other night, it's not a little thing, but how could I say this? It's a big mental adjustment now because they'll go into this game, they'll be buoyed, it'll be a much more enjoyable week. And you know what? It'll be the other thing. No one's going to really give them a chance, right?
I think there's two things where the Sharks need to dominate in. They need to stop Penrith's back three from being the meter eaters and the energy givers to that Penrith team. But what I mean by that is Trindle needs to kick the ball deep and high and give his opposition, his wingers, outside backs, an opportunity. This is here Melbourne versus Penrith. The ball goes up and William Warbrick out-jumps Edwards and they score a try. You've got To'o, Taruva and Edwards, not the tallest in the competition. Raiders, another loss from Penrith. The ball goes up, To'o comes forward, Xavier Savage catches it. So I think the kicking game of Trindle needs to be on. And this is the type of kick chase that the Sharks need to do again.
Yeah, right.
And their outside backs are key to it. Yeah. Shut down the back three of Penrith, but then also Mulatalo, Jesse Ramey and Carter get through and compete on every fifth play. On the flip side, for them to score points, I think they need to bring in their outside backs. We spoke about them playing north-south, but when Cronulla shift the ball from coast to coast and have that, let's call fullback mentality of Hynes, Trindle, Kennedy, and Nicho doing things like that, that's the key.
And you're right, Coop. Sideways ball movement is fine as long as there's a corrector there. And the corrector, oftentimes, particularly on that right side, is Nicho. You need, a back rower there. Straighten it. You need a corrector. Push the ball sideways. Every sideways ball movement at least needs a short ball option.
Yeah, because I like Jesse Ramey's athleticism up against Alamotti. I just feel like there's not too many chinks in Penrith's defence. But if you can nullify their back three, and then if the Sharks can have that type of intensity to back themselves and shift the ball to their outside bend and give them a chance one-on-one.